What is up, everybody? It is Lawrence, and welcome to my squeakers. The sneaker that we have today, I don't really know what to say about it. So, if you guys know, there's a brand called A Cold Wall, and A Cold Wall is a fashion brand that has really, really interesting paneling and aesthetics. It's done by a guy named Samuel Ross, and I like a lot of their stuff because it's really edgy, it looks futuristic, but it really doesn't fit into my aesthetic or my wardrobe when I go to work and things like that, so I don't have much of their stuff. So I was really, really interested in their sneakers recently. They released something called the Shard, which I really, really liked. It's kind of like a futuristic Midsole Margiela Gat, or German army trainer. And I didn't even know this collab with Converse was coming out, and I thought it was super interesting to see this, with both Converse being done as a collaborator, but also the fact that this looks nothing like a Converse shoe, and it looks almost directly like it was from A Cold Wall. Without further ado, let's get into the review of the A Cold Wall and Converse Chuck Taylor All-Star Lug Tie. So let's start with the box. The box is pretty minimal. There's not much here. And there's a little parts where the A Cold Wall is imprinted into the box over there and over there. But pretty much the box really doesn't matter. And there's also nothing special inside. And here it is, the Chuck Taylor All-Star High Lugged. So this looks nothing to me like a Chuck Taylor All-Star. I mean, I guess the shape kind of, but for the most part, this has A Cold Wall all written into it. I love the way this looks. It's futuristic. The color, I think, is really great, and it's something that I can probably wear with a lot of different things just because it's pure white. I actually much more awesome if this was a pure black, so if they actually released one in a pure black, that'd be even sicker. But there's a lot going on, so let's start with the upper like we always do. The majority of the upper is actually made out of this extremely hard plastic and rubber. I think it's rubber actually. It's really hard to find information about this sneaker, by the way. So on the very front panel, made out of this rubber, you have a exposed stitching on the very top and A Cold Wall, or ACW, imprinted into that specific panel. Then on the back over here, you also have another panel that is kind of a cone shape with the top chopped off. What is that called? Trapezoid? I think it's a trapezoid. And that also has ACW printed there vertically, which I think is interesting. Then you have the rest of the upper, which is made out of this ripstop material. It's a ripstop nylon. It looks pretty cool. I like how rugged it is. It makes the ruggedness of this boot really stand out because it has this rib pattern on there, and it's pretty rough to the touch actually, which I didn't expect. It's a nice nylon is what I'm trying to say, and the rubber is also a very, very nice rubber. It feels heavy duty, which is both a good thing because I think the durability on the sneakers can be amazing, but not the best thing because it's obviously not soft. Then in the very back of the shoe, you have a Presented by Samuel Ross vertically over here, and then on the very top you have a pull tab where the lacing actually goes through on the back. And finally on the medial side you have different paneling. It's the same shapes as the front, but it looks a little bit different. And so over here you finally have your first hit of Converse on the medial side. And then over here on the other panel, so the exposed stitching panel, also has some type of imprint on it. I don't know what it means. It might be the style code. I'm not 100% sure. So the front of the shoe is where you also have some Chuck Taylor inspiration as well. So that area over here where the rubber normally is done in that really, really heavyweight rubber that I was talking about that goes up the sides. Going to the top, and the stitching over here as well where the nylon is. It also looks very similar to your traditional Chuck Taylor. The tongue itself is actually it's not stitched on, it's actually one major piece, and because of that you actually can't lift the tongue. And so I think the hope of that is if there is a little bit of water that goes into the sneaker, it's going to get trapped here because you can't actually put a hole through. The lacing style is done in a oval lace, and what's interesting, and I think I really like this aesthetic, hopefully the actual plastic on this is not too cheap where it can actually hold up, but it's got these two buttons over here that are the lace holes. And what's interesting is the lacing goes normal lacing over here, then it gets trapped into these little eyelets and it gets wrapped around the back and then it comes around the other side. It's really hard to explain, but you can definitely see what it does as I move the camera around the sneaker. On the inside, you're gonna have ACW imprinted on the insole. On the midsole, you have an extremely chunky midsole. It almost feels like it's double the size of your typical Converse, which is great. It's made out of, like I said, that really durable rubber, and you can tell that this is really more of a boot than it really is a sneaker. Finally, on the bottom of the sneaker, you have the same Chuck Taylor All-Star imprint for the outsole, but it's made out of the same hard rubber. So all of this is just extremely well built, and I would just say there's nothing about the shoe that should have any durability issues. So what are my thoughts on the sneaker? The sneaker itself is really not a sneaker. It is a sneaker boot, and it is much more close to the boot end than it is the sneaker end. While the design cues and everything are based on the Chuck Taylor, I would say that this shoe does not resemble the Chuck Taylor. Really? I mean, look at it. No one's gonna be like, oh my god, that's a Chuck Taylor. I'm really digging the style. This is the first like a cold wall thing that I've had. You know, it's obviously with Converse, but the style and aesthetic is super futuristic. I'm into it. I don't know if I can wear this well, but hopefully, you know, in the on feed that you're seeing, with me twirling around in these, it looks okay. And I think for the most part, I can probably pull it off. My only thing about the aesthetic is I do have a smaller foot, and because of the smaller foot, I actually think the bigger sizes look significantly better than the small size because of the chunkiness of everything. With it being compact, it doesn't look as good as the larger sizes. In terms of comfort, I would say I don't know yet. The midsole and the outsole feel good, feel amazing when I put it on feet. Maybe not amazing, but it feels decent. The X factor is these panels are super hard, and I don't know how those are going to feel over time. This is much more of a stylistic sneaker than it is honestly, any type of comfort. It feels like a boot, it walks like a boot, and I would say that I need to compare this to a boot and not a sneaker. So in terms of sizing, this is actually really narrow in the front. You can probably see it in the camera, but it's a little too narrow for my liking, and because of that and where my toe is, it hits this area. Finally, the last thing is sizing. I would go with, so I went with a full size down, so I'm normally a 7.5 true to size, and with this, I actually went with a 6.5, and I rarely ever do that. Whenever I do need to go half size down with Converse, I typically go with half size down. So normally I would get a 7 on the Chuck Taylor All-Star, and with these I actually went with a 6.5. And I think that's pretty much going to be the case for anybody, and I don't think this shoe is wide foot friendly at all, which includes myself, but we'll see. I'm keeping it anyway just because I think it looks sick, and I think it adds like a very interesting aesthetic to my wardrobe. And that's it, guys. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you like me, hit the subscribe button. And if you have any questions about the sneaker, leave that in the comments below. But until next time, this is the Cold Wall Chuck Taylor All-Star Lug Tie. Wow, that was really loud. I hope I didn't break my table. Peace.